Hello, everyone. This is the Broken Christian Man podcast. My name is Scott. The show is about what it's like to be a Christian in the real world. Topics that we may or may not agree on, but we still need to talk about them to find a path forward and to better understanding each other so that we can live more Christian lives. If you're interested in this kind of a show, tune out to the world, tune in to what we're talking about, and let's see if we can influence each other in a positive way. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I had something completely different planned for this week, but as of this last Friday, so last Friday we're looking at 4/19. It was announced there was a revision to Title IX. And if you're not familiar with that, that is the rules around sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, that more or less affects primarily our schools, and that is, our primary education and then our extended education of college. So really, kindergarten through college is how this is affected. There are pieces of it that would affect college life more than it would affect your primary schooling, but it's actually disturbing in a lot of ways. And it just goes to show that I wouldn't be very, whenever you let the government get its fingers into anything, it is overreaching into your personal values. So this really should alarm anybody who wants socialism for the United States instead of a democracy. So there's a lot of folks that look at socialism and they really just want to go, yay, I don't have to make any decisions, let the government figure it out. And I want to paint a big picture here. It's a very broad brushstroke, but I want to let you know that socialism has two extremes. It has Switzerland, which can be arguably good, for a government-controlled state, or it can be very, very bad, as in North Korea, which is also a socialist state. Do I think that the United States would land on either one of these extremes? No, I think would land somewhere in the middle. But still, there's a lot of drawbacks to that. And this Title IX, the reason why I'm honing in on that and comparing it with socialism is because there was no vote on this. This was changed by the Biden administration. And it is to include terms for sexual harassment with the LGBTQIA+. Now, I am not opposed to there being harassment included for this. It's its own phenomenon. And so let's talk about this for a second, because I know that we need to protect our everybody in the United States. There is no excuse for violence. And growing up in a very, very small town, if you were different than, in pretty much any way, if you were different than the majority, you were picked on. I was bullied some in school, and it's just because I wasn't a prep or an agricultural student, or I didn't fit into the prominent crowds. I was a musician and I was a skater, and in Missouri that wasn't necessarily a desirable thing. That wasn't that you were a thug, even though and also I want to state that a lot of my friends who were skaters, who were freestylers or who were musicians got very good grades. Some didn't, of course, but you could take your jocks, your preps, and you could say the same for those, but they were popular and they were trendy. But coming into this, I went to look up the breakdown of the United States, and we have a huge range. And the range is from 18 to 93 years old. I understand that it doesn't include small children, but let's just cut it down. The people who identify as queer or gay, bisexual, it's 16% of the United States population identify as queer. 15% of that identify as bisexual, 6% as pansexual, and 3% as asexual. So, well, we're halving up basically the pie there. It goes, because you have gay and lesbian such a broad term, then you have. But the reality of it is 16% of the United States identifies as gay or queer, and I get that there needs to be protection for that group. I get that. It was in school. It was 100 times worse for the folks that were gay, or even if you're a guy and you're a little bit feminine. Me personally, I've been picked on for being stated as being a little effeminate for a man, even though I teach martial arts and I'm a proud red-blooded American male who likes women. I like to cook. I don't mind helping with the cleaning. I believe in being a partner with my spouse as to opposed to a dominant idiot, to where I don't see any other way but mine type male. I pride myself in that, and I also believe that that's reflecting of my Christian values. So, but I do agree, you shouldn't be picking on these people. You shouldn't harass them. It did go on for way too long, and it makes people feel unsafe in their own areas. But here's where I have a problem, and I take a big issue with this. Now, I suspect that this is going to bleed into schools. It's not bled in yet. It's not been announced they're saying that there's going to be a separate bill towards school sports and college sports. But the reality of it is that should be a no-fly zone. Why do I say that? Well, here's the exact reason. Men, and I have no respect for these men, regardless, when it comes to competition, who feel they need to compete in women's sports. You're just trying to take the easy way to get a win. And that's that. You are still a biological male. And I also do not believe that if you are still have fully functioning male parts, in other words, that if you have a penis, that by any ways should you be allowed into a female locker room. I'm sorry. No, you're taking away from the women's safe space. Now, and this is more geared towards college, if you're a fully transitioned male and you don't have male parts anymore, then not so much. Not so much. That's a little bit different. But the reality of it is we're seeing a elevated source of violence from transitioned men or men identifying as women towards women, because they believe it's okay to hit a woman, even though it is scientifically proven. We always talk about follow the science. I do not know where we lost our minds, but we have lost our minds. If you follow the science, there are two genders, period. No matter how you feel inside, there are still only two genders. Like it or lump it. It's the way that the world is designed. And I will go further to say that's the way God designed things. It mentions this in the Bible, in Genesis, There are only two genders. But this is fading into that ground. I know that they said that's separate, but still in the same thing, it does fall into effect with bathrooms and locker rooms. That a man who is not transitioned, he's still got his parts, can, if he identifies as that sex, he can go in there. It still begs to differ. You know, there are people who identify as animals. This doesn't cover that. That's why it should never have been manipulated away from that you have a boys' bathroom and a girls' bathroom, or you have a unisex bathroom, which is a one-person stall. There's, hey, that works because it can be by anybody, but it's a one-person stall, so it provides a level of protection. And I think that is good I think that's good all the way around for people's general protection. Not that we can't have public bathrooms. I'm just saying that if you are not comfortable going into one of the other bathrooms, I think, that's the addition of a unisex bathroom is totally fine. Some people prefer it because I'll be honest with you, if you go into a public male bathroom, it's disgusting. I mean, I just went on a trip this weekend to see a friend of mine, and I tell you what, I mean, I pretty much had to crap my pants before I got to a clean bathroom because I'm sorry, men are pretty disgusting in that regard. Well, I don't know. I've heard stories from friends of mine that work in industries where they have to go clean the bathrooms, and I guess women can be pretty gross too. But the point is, public bathrooms are kind of disgusting if you got to go number two. If you got to go number one, it's doable. But even still, for a woman, number one or number two, yeah, it's pretty gross, and I feel for women on that one. But our women we have an attack on masculinity because if you're a male and you're a red-blooded male with the X masculine, you're bad. Now it comes down to if you're a woman and you want to feel protected, now your rights are being attacked. And that is all done by a 16%. The 16%. It may be less than that. I mean, this is just one article, and I do see some variance, but it's low. The percentage is low of the counterculture lifestyle of being, LGBTQIA+. And it in no way should be decided by a federal government that if you're going to get federal money or your federal money is at risk, that you're going to lose that funding if you don't honor this. Now, I remember back in the day, it's been 8 years ago roughly, when this tried to come through North Carolina and it got voted down. And we had we had all kinds of the national professional leagues trying to boycott North Carolina for not doing it. We also had major stars and celebrities saying we were a bigot state. No, we weren't. We were protecting our kids. And so you got to realize that inherently everything kind of goes back to Hollywood and California and their moral standards out there. And so bottom line is of course they're going to come out and try to sanction us for not doing, and none of it stuck. The reality of it is that nothing happened. We didn't make a big fuss out of it. We didn't retaliate. It just faded. We were the way we were. Nothing changed. And by rights it shouldn't, because we were protecting our kids. In no way, shape, or form should you have unisex, or I'm talking about little boys being able to enter bathrooms with little girls. And likewise, you got to worry about this with the church faculty as well, because this would apply across the board. We've got to stand up against this, period. This is, and when it gets into college, hey, it's a little bit different, but still it's the same. There should not be a violation of safe space for women. Now, here's the other side of this. I've watched several news programs on this, and they did report on it. Bravo to them, but it was a blip. They vaguely went over it. The only one that went over it in more detail was the PBS NewsHour. And none of them are touching on the fact that they're making it harder to get a fair shake in college if a harassment claim is produced. All right, they're making it hard to where the defendant and the persecutor don't have to even see each other. They have a mediator go in between. One, that's wrong. The college can throw out evidence if they don't deem it necessary. The bottom line is this isn't a real court. So they're just trying to make it easier and less uncomfortable for the colleges. Man, I tell everybody, if I had kids, if I had young kids, I would be looking into homeschooling them because it's stupid. And if I had a college age, our college institutions are getting ruined by this crap. I mean, there needs to be accountability, yes, but you need to do it right. You know, our court systems are going crazy with just trying to minimize everything, and people are getting hurt. Women are getting, because of our policies at the border, they're getting hurt by us letting bad people in. And we aren't regulating. That's the main thing is if you got into the U.S. legally and you did it the right way and you were bad, it's going to that can happen. But the thing is, we don't know who's coming across our borders, period. It is a politically okay way of the United States getting invaded. And there's proof among proof about more drugs getting across the border, illegal immigrants that are on the national watch list getting across our border and getting past everything because we're not putting the right sanctions out there. I don't mean to be political on this channel, but this has to be addressed because it really does conflict with Christian values that this country was founded on that are perfectly fine. There are the values of doing right to one, doing as you would have them doing to others as you'd have them do to yourself, for the most part, are good for everybody. They are solid, and that is what set this country apart for so long. But the United States, which seemingly is running the world right now as far as providing aid to humanitarian aid to places, providing military aid to certain places, it's just too much to announce. We're losing ourselves. You cannot go to the extremes that we're doing and make it unfit for Americans. The homeless is off the charts, but yet we're providing government assistance to illegal immigrants. How does that make sense? We're not taking care of our own people. Our jobs, I've talked to multiple people, they say our job market is so good. No, it's not. Everybody's having a hard time finding a decent job. It just looks good on paper. And the homeless is indicative of that. That is the byproduct of it. And our government's lying to us. So, we've got into a government moment. We got into a government moment by reversing Roe v. Wade. That wasn't voted on. It's just now getting voted. And possibly, I think it's going to the states and getting voted on. And now we're expanding the harassment, sexual harassment guidelines to include LGBTQIA+. And note that even if you look at the mention, they didn't even mention the newer classes that come out all the time, furries and this, that, and the other. It's ridiculous. And it does not follow the science, as they like to popularly say. And our news media is just all scripting. I haven't seen much on this at all that's been in anything in depth. So they're purposely keeping you in the dark so you can't even make an informed decision. I've seen more on the national parks getting affected, people taking selfies with bears, people pushing rocks over in national markets, destroying stones. I've seen more on that kind of stuff. I've seen more on car wrecks and that shut down major systems, crashes of boat barges, and derailments of trains, and all this on the FAA stuff with Boeing. I'm seeing all about that, but I'm not seeing how our fundamental rights are being expanded, to at least know what I'm getting into. Doesn't that strike you funny? You can flip on it and yeah, the news stations will deviate a little bit, but for the most part, they cover the same crap. That is the paramount of government control. And those of you who believe in socialism, that's one of the things that you got to sign on for, is that you're not going to get real news anymore. Second of all, you better bank that everybody's feeling the pinch right now. You're really going to feel the pinch. Canada's food prices are getting to be astronomical. There's lots of reports online from private news sources that talk about it. They're not the mainstream news sources, of course, because they're probably saying everything is hunky-dory and nothing's wrong. You're getting lied to. And this is indicative, and on top of that, your spiritual and religious rights are going to be affected, because religion at its core is anti-establishment. They crucified Christ for it. What's to say that they're not gonna try to shut you up? You can already see it in communist countries. People disappear in those countries if they speak out against the government. You're at least allowed to protest now and make your voice heard. If you go socialist to a government-controlled country, which is just a very small sliver from communism, basically socialism and communism are pretty dang close. I'd be careful if I were you, one of these people. Your prices are going to go up. And for that matter, I put something together. If you notice that all of your democratically controlled states are more expensive to live in, have you ever thought about that for a second? Government control it's bad all the way around, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for us as Christians. If you have any other kind of religion, it's not going to be good for you. And for those of you who say, well, I follow science, my religion is science, we don't follow that either. We follow the narrative of what seems acceptable to say. Do you want a government that just starts following and blowing back and forth with the trends that are going on? Do you really? Do you really want a government that can't provide you with some consistency? That's what you're going to get. I'm irritated. I'm very irritated at this change, because if I had a child in school, I would run the risk, if the school chooses to go with this when it goes into effect in October, that if I had a girl, she could be sitting in the girls' bathroom and there's a boy who's got his willy out. And I'm talking from on to high school. And you cannot tell me that boys wouldn't lie just to get in to get a peep. And there's nothing the school could do with it. There's nothing the school could do about it, because it'd be discrimination against that boy. He could be lying. You have guys that dress up as girls but are still attracted to girls. Would you want that around your daughter? I mean, they could be lying. They could bend the rules. You can't put cameras in bathrooms for obvious reasons. You have no visibility of what's going to even go on. This should scare the crap out of you, because assaults could very well be more rampant. We've already proved that our government doesn't know what to do about policing. All these places that got defunded on the police departments, they're all crying for the police to come back. But it's too late. The genie's out the bottle, man. The funding's not there. Luckily, they're getting a little bit more creative by doing, drones and stuff like that. Or I don't know if it's drones, but yeah, that they can have cameras. I'm drawing a blank, but that you can fly and monitor things. But we're in a world of hurt right now. We have such a moral decline going on that it should scare you. It really should, because it's affecting your kids. And I believe if you really want to be a girl, then you need to fully transition. I don't advertise it because it's irreversible and People talk about, people are more freaky about tattoos. Bottom line, tattoos are reversible. You can have them removed. But boy, you can't really detransition. It just doesn't work the same if you are a man and become a girl. And probably the same for a girl that decides to become a man. I'm not really sure how this, I'm not a doctor by any means, but man, you're rearranging something that wasn't made that way out the factory first. You're getting an aftermarket adjustment. And there's just some things that have such an intricate nerve ending network that I think we just are really making a lot of mistakes. And this falls in line with Timothy. This really does fall in line with Timothy. If you go to 2 Timothy 3 and you read, you'll see that it says, you can be certain in the last days there will be some very hard times. Well, we're in these hard times. People will love only themselves and money. They'll be proud, stuck up, rude, disobedient to their parents, or we already have that. People don't listen to their parents, and then the schools are taking away the rights of the parents half the time, and then the government's getting into the school systems who are already infringing on parental rights. They will also be ungrateful, godless, heartless, and hateful. Come on, just drive down the road. You can see how heartless and hateful people are. Their words will be cruel. Come on, people. You've been on social media lately, or even since social media really took a rise, they're cruel. They'll have no self-control or pity. Look at how easily porn is abused online. How much we have of people that are using drugs and alcoholism, getting guns and shooting up churches and schools. There's no self-control or pity. We see a lot of people, they do these things, they have no pity. Well, they deserved it. These people will hate everything good. Yeah, they're trying to take down our establishments that protect women's freedoms and infringe, and we're tearing down men and women in the process for a population of people that still aren't totally set up. It changes every day, of the new pronouns and whatnot. And we're allowing these men who are dressing up like women, we're allowing them into places where they do assault women. I mean, it's even in the school systems. You're seeing it where little boys who think they're girls are beating up girls. And they're 12, 9, 10. Less than that. Seen one where a little trans girl, I guess, she's not in small school, grabbed this one little girl, I don't even know what it was over, by the backpack, pulled her down and hit her 5 times in the face and called her an expletive, and then walked off. This is a power, men are more powerful and strong than women in most cases. I am not putting women down, and I'm not saying women are weak. I'm just saying physically, come on. We've got people that are jealous. Their religion won't be real. How many fake religions do we have out there that are just cults that try to get you into things? As Christians, we're told don't to have anything to do with these people because it's corrupting. It's really corrupting. It's not a new mindset. It's just being corrupted. And, we have sex cults on the rise. We have all this, even Hollywood is a sex cult. If you listen to some of the Me Too movement and all these things are coming out into the open, and it is on the rise here. We are also experiencing odd weather phenomenon and earthquakes popping in places that you don't usually have earthquakes. All these things were talked about in the Bible. Don't lose yourself to this new world religion, because it's not going to be good. You lose your freedom. I wish I could talk more on this, but I'm kind of out of time. I love you all. I hope God blesses you. Speak out and up against these things that are being done to women. I speak up about people that are being abused, that are gay, that nobody should be abused. Nobody. Doesn't matter whether I'm a Christian or I'm not. You shouldn't believe in harming other people. That's not my decision. My preaching in Christ is to live a better life, but there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And physically harming people, physically making people feel bad about themselves, that's not the way to do it. And the Bible supports that. It says in the Bible that wrath is God's, not ours. But I love you all of you, and I sincerely mean that, all of you. But we've got to be paying attention, and we've got to really look, because the government and news agencies, man, they're just blipping on this. But this is really has a lot of effect. And one more thing I'm going to leave you with on the Title IX piece is in college, just think of it this way. If you get accused of sexual harassment in college, basically they've made it easier for the accuser to accuse you and for it to stick. There is no face-off. There's nothing, this isn't necessarily a court. But think of it this way. It's very easy now basically, you're going to keep federal money. They're going to please them. This is probably going to cause accusations of sexual harassment to go on the rise, and those people who are being accused to have minimal defense. Now, they can take it to court. But let me ask you this. If you're a college student, how much money do you really have to pay for court fees? And I guarantee you it's not much. And the bottom line is, when you get accused and say it sticks of sexual harassment, your college career is over, because it goes onto your record and it follows you wherever you go. Just think about that for a second, especially those of you who have kids. And who knows how far this will reach. It's not been put into effect yet. Just how many ways can this be abused? Think about that for a second, because the government is not thinking about these policies and how they can be abused. And you think about the average human being. How many of us think about how we can get how can we get around the system? How can we get what we want and get what we want, no matter who it hurts? What if it fits our reputation and you have a male or a female lying? They don't have to produce a lot of proof. There was just a recent case where a lady said that 5 guys from a fraternity raped her. And she even produced semen, but the bottom line was that didn't match it didn't match any of the guys. It wasn't brought into court. It wasn't even brought into this college court. That. So that makes perfect sense, right? And this is in our current system. That basically, because she said it, and then these guys had to produce receipts. They finally were able to produce receipts to show that they weren't anywhere near her then. And all of this was done because one of the dads of the kid had enough money to get a lawyer and take it to court. Turned out she lied. She just lied. She had a fantasy about it. This was her fantasy. So just think about that. People do lie. We don't like to think it, but people do lie, manipulate. They want to make themselves look better on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. People do lie. And people do abuse the system for personal gain. Just think about that one. Y'all have a great week. Well, that's all we have for today. If you could, please like and subscribe to the podcast. And while you're there, please give us a rating. Also, please check us out on Instagram under Broken Christian Man, and also under Twitter under Broken_CM. Thank you.